Have you ever wondered why life feels full of ups and downs, where happiness comes and goes like passing clouds? Have you noticed how often we run after things, money, comfort, recognition, only to feel empty again after some time? What if there was a way to live life where our peace stays steady, no matter what happens around us? Think for a moment about a cup of tea. If you sip it slowly, you enjoy its warmth, its taste, and the calm it brings. But if you rush, distracted by everything else, you miss that simple joy. Life works the same way. We are often too busy running that we miss the wisdom hiding in ordinary, everyday moments. Buddhism gently asks us, what if peace is not found in adding more, but in seeing things clearly? Welcome to Wisdom Woven, a space where ancient knowledge meets daily life in the simplest way possible. Together, we are going to unwrap Buddhism step by step, not as some faraway teaching, but as a guide for living peacefully today. There are so many views on this channel, but only 0.3% subscribes, so please like, comment, share, and subscribe to our channel. Your small support means big encouragement for us to keep weaving wisdom into words. Buddhism began over 2,500 years ago with Siddhartha Gautama, a prince who left behind his royal comforts in search of something far greater than luxury. He wanted to know why people suffer, why joy fades, and how life could truly be lived in freedom. Through deep reflection and realization, he became the Buddha, the awakened one. His journey reminds us that answers to the hardest questions of life do not lie outside, but within our own awareness. At its heart, Buddhism is not about worshiping statues or following rituals blindly. It is more about learning how to see reality without distortion. It teaches us compassion for ourselves, for others, and for the world we share. Simple truths like impermanence and mindfulness open gentle doors towards a quieter, kinder way of living. It does not demand belief, but invites curiosity. This introduction is just the beginning of the wisdom we will explore together. Every teaching that unfolds in the next parts will bring us closer to answering those daily life questions. How can we stay calm when everything changes? How do we find peace when desires never stop knocking? How do we live with clarity, kindness, and balance? Stay with us, because what lies ahead may not just change how you understand Buddhism, but also how you experience your own life. The story begins long ago, more than 2,500 years back, in a quiet land at the foothills of the Himalayas. There, in the kingdom of Kapilavastu, people lived under the gentle rule of King Suddhodana and his queen Maya. They were respected and loved by their people. One night, when Queen Maya rested in the palace gardens, she had a dream so bright and full of symbols that it stayed with her when she awoke. In her dream, a white elephant entered her side, carrying with it a promise of something extraordinary. Soon after, she discovered she was with child. The wise men of the time declared that this child would not be an ordinary prince. They said he would either become a great universal ruler or a great sage who would guide humanity to truth. When the time came, Queen Maya gave birth while passing through Lumbini, a beautiful grove where flowers bloomed and birds sang. It is said that the baby Siddhartha entered the world under the shade of a sal tree, and at that moment, the air carried a sense of calm and wonder. The child was named Siddhartha, which means one who achieves his aim. People marveled at the peaceful presence he carried, even as a newborn. But fate was not completely gentle, for Queen Maya passed away just a few days after his birth. The young prince was raised by his kind aunt, Mahapajapati, who loved him deeply as her own son. The boy, Siddhartha, grew up with a curious mind and a soft heart. He was trained in all the ways a prince should be: riding horses, handling weapons, learning art, studying philosophy. Everyone admired him for his grace and clarity. But beneath the shining image of a royal child, there lived a quiet longing in his heart. Even as a boy, he would sometimes sit in silence while others played, watching the trees, the sky, the rhythm of life passing around him. He seemed to sense a mystery hidden below the surface of ordinary days. His father, the king, loved him deeply and more than anything wanted him to stay in the luxurious royal life. The king feared the old prophecy that Siddhartha might leave the palace to become a spiritual guide. To avoid that fate, the king tried to shield the boy from sorrow, pain, or discomfort. Within the palace walls, Siddhartha was surrounded by beauty, music, and pleasure. Suffering and hardship were carefully kept away. Yet, as anyone who looks at life closely knows, the truth cannot stay hidden for long. In his youth, Siddhartha was married to Yasodhara, a princess full of grace and kindness. The couple cared for each other with deep respect, and soon they had a son, Rahula. To many, it looked like a perfect life. A gentle prince, a loving wife, a beautiful child, endless comfort. But Siddhartha's heart was unsettled. There was a question inside him, burning quietly, that comfort could not silence. Why do people suffer, age, and die? What is the root of this cycle? One day, Siddhartha's life changed forever. Leaving the palace in his chariot, he passed through the city and encountered what came to be called the Four Sights. First, he saw an old man, bent frail, no longer full of youthful strength. It shocked him, for he had never seen aging so closely. Then, he saw a sick person, shivering and trembling, overtaken by pain. The sight disturbed him deeply, as he realized how fragile the body truly is. Third, he saw a lifeless person carried by mourners. Death, that final reality, stood right before him. Up until then, he lived as though such things did not exist, but now he saw plainly. No one, not even a prince, escapes suffering. But the fourth sight brought a spark of hope. Siddhartha saw a wandering ascetic, a monk who had left behind his home and possessions. The monk's face was serene, peaceful in spite of having nothing. Siddhartha realized there was another path, perhaps beyond pleasure and pain alike, where true peace could be discovered. This moment left him silent, yet inwardly shaken. Though he returned to the palace, the images of those four sights would not leave his mind. Nights became heavier, days restless. Surrounded by luxury, his heart longed for something more real. It was not that he did not love his family. He loved them deeply, but the truth of human suffering weighed on him. Could he accept living inside comfort, while the world outside suffered endlessly? His compassion did not allow him to turn away. Finally, one night, as his family slept, Siddhartha made the most difficult decision of his life. With a heavy heart, he looked at his son and wife for the last time under the palace roof, knowing he might never return in the same way. He mounted his horse, accompanied by his loyal servant Channa, and quietly left the palace. That great renunciation was not an escape, but a leap into the unknown in search of truth. He renounced his fine garments, cut his hair, and exchanged royal clothes for the robes of a simple seeker. From that day, Siddhartha walked among villages and forests, not as a prince, but as a seeker of wisdom. He began studying with famous teachers known for their mastery of meditation and philosophy. He practiced with intensity, achieving deep states of concentration, but each time he felt their teaching was incomplete. They could take him far, but not all the way to the end of suffering. After leaving those teachers, he began a period of extreme asceticism, living on very little food, fasting for days, pushing his body nearly to its limits. He thought maybe by denying the physical self, one could reach spiritual truth. His body grew thin, weak, almost lifeless. There is an old account which says that at one point when he touched his belly, he could feel his backbone through the skin. But still, the full truth did not reveal itself. He realized that torturing the body was as unwise as living in luxury. It was another extreme. Truth must lie in a path beyond both indulgence and punishment. One day, after nearly collapsing, he understood that life needs balance. He accepted a bowl of simple milk rice from Sujata, a kind village woman, and regained strength. This moment marked the birth of what came to be known as the middle way. A life neither of luxury nor of harsh denial, but of wise balance. Strengthened by this insight, Siddhartha went to sit under a Bodhi tree, determined not to rise until he had pierced through the veil of ignorance. 4 days and nights he sat, unshaken, facing doubts, distractions, and inner storms. It is said that even Mara, the embodiment of illusion and temptation, tried to disturb his meditation with fears and desires, but Siddhartha remained still. As dawn approached one sacred morning, clarity opened inside him like a lotus. He saw deeply into the nature of life, its suffering, its causes, and the path to freedom. He realized impermanence, the law of cause and effect, the endless cycle of birth and death, and the way beyond it all. In that moment of awakening, Siddhartha became the Buddha, the awakened one. He discovered that liberation was not about escaping the world, but about understanding and seeing it clearly. The chains of ignorance fell, and compassion filled his heart. He saw that every being holds the same potential for awakening. This truth was not just for one man, but for all humanity. Instead of keeping this wisdom to himself, the Buddha felt deep compassion for others. He knew the path was not easy, but it was walkable, and he wished to guide anyone willing to listen. Thus, he rose from beneath the Bodhi tree, carrying not wealth, not weapons, not royal power, but an infinite treasure within, the Dharma, the teaching of truth. His journey ahead would not be about conquest of lands, but the gentle offering of freedom to hearts weighed down by suffering. From then on, Siddhartha, now the Buddha, began his great mission of teaching. Wherever he went, people could feel something remarkable, a calm so steady, a clarity so undeniable, that they were drawn to him. He reminded kings and beggars alike that suffering is universal, and peace is possible. His every word, every gesture, was filled with both wisdom and compassion. He became the shining lamp in a world so often carried by storm. The life of Siddhartha Gautama shows us something simple yet profound. He was not born a god, but a human being, full of questions like all of us. His courage was not in conquering armies, but in conquering his own ignorance. His renunciation was not abandonment, but love, so deep that he wished all beings to find freedom from sorrow. And his teaching was not reserved for a chosen few, but open for anyone who listens. Even today, when we remember his journey, we are reminded that the search for meaning is not separate from our lives. You may not be a prince, nor sit under a Bodhi tree, but within the rhythm of your own breath, your own heart, lies the same doorway to wisdom. As Siddhartha discovered, the truth is not far away. It simply waits for us to look closely, gently, and with patience. That is the heartbeat of his story, and the living invitation he left behind. Imagine living life like walking on a winding path through a forest. Sometimes the sun shines bright, and the way feels easy under your feet. Other times, shadows fall, and the path narrows, tangled with roots and rocks that make each step difficult. This path of life is much like what Siddhartha Gautama realized during his awakening. He saw very clearly that life, by its very nature, involves a kind of struggle and discomfort. But more than that, He understood the reason why this struggle happens and how it can be eased. This understanding is what we call the Four Noble Truths. To explore these truths, first, we must face an honest question. Why do we suffer? Why does pain visit our lives so often, knocking on our doors in the forms of sadness, loss, frustration, or fear? We all experience these feelings at some point, whether small or deep. The Buddha did not shy away from this question. He looked at suffering not as a curse or bad luck, but as a part of the human condition, a reality that needed clear understanding before the heart could find peace. The first noble truth is called dukkha, often translated as suffering, dissatisfaction, or unease. It means that life, as it is commonly lived, involves a kind of pain that is unavoidable. This doesn't mean life is only pain or that happiness never exists. Instead, it's a reminder that joy and sorrow often come together, and neither lasts forever. To explain, the Buddha used many examples. Birth is the beginning of life, but it brings aging and death. We may enjoy good health, but will face illness. We love those close to us, but may also experience separation or loss. Even when things go well, there is an undercurrent of uncertainty because all things are changing. Seeing life clearly means recognizing this truth, not to make us sad, but to anchor us in reality instead of illusions. When we understand dukkha, it opens the door to the next question. Why do we suffer? The Buddha's second noble truth answers this with grace and depth. He said that suffering arises from craving and attachment. We cling to things we desire: the comfort of youth, the approval of others, wealth, power, beauty, and many more. We also cling to ideas, our beliefs, who we think we are, our plans and hopes for the future. This craving sets in motion a restless hunger that can never truly be satisfied. Imagine trying to fill a cup that has a small hole. It may seem full for a moment, but the water keeps dripping out. Our endless desires are like that hole, always pushing us to want more, to hold tighter, to reach endlessly. This craving and attachment also blind us to the truth of impermanence, the fact that everything changes, nothing stays the same. Because we deny this change, we react with fear and resistance when loss or pain arises. We try to hold things exactly as we want, but life does not obey this wish. The pain comes not only from what happens, but from our refusal to accept the flow of life. So suffering is born both from what we experience and how we relate to it inside. Knowing this truth can be uncomfortable at first. It asks us to look honestly at the roots of our suffering, not to blame ourselves, but to understand where freedom lies. The third noble truth offers this hope. There is a way to end suffering. It says that when craving and attachment cease, suffering ends. This state is called nirvana, meaning blowing out. As if the flame of restless desire is gently put out, leaving calmness behind. It is not a place but a state of deep peace and freedom. Nirvana does not mean becoming cold or emotionless. It means a heart that no longer suffers from grasping or pushing away. A mind that sees clearly without being tossed by storms of craving or fear. It is like a lake in the early morning, still and bright with light, reflecting the sky without ripples. When the mind rests in this way, it does not cling to passing joys or dread passing sorrows. It lives free, gently touching life as it is. The Buddha taught that this freedom is not impossible or only for special people. Every being has the potential to awaken to this peace. But it is not something we can just wish for or hope will happen. It comes through the path of practice, learning, and transformation. This brings us to the fourth noble truth, which reveals the path to the end of suffering. This path is known as the Noble Eightfold Path, a practical guide for living wisely and kindly. It is called noble because it leads to liberation, and it is eightfold because it consists of 8 parts that support one another. These 8 aspects are right view, right intention, right speech, right action, right livelihood, right effort, right mindfulness, and right concentration. Together, they show a way of living that balances wisdom, ethical behavior, and mental training. Right view is about seeing the world as it truly is, understanding impermanence, suffering, and the law of cause and effect, karma. It means knowing that actions have consequences and that freedom begins with clear understanding. Right intention means setting the heart's direction towards kindness, harmlessness, and letting go of harmful desires. Right speech teaches us to speak truthfully, kindly, and helpfully, avoiding lies, harsh words, and useless gossip. Right action is about living morally, acting with kindness, not taking life or stealing, respecting others, and living honestly. Right livelihood asks us to earn a living in ways that do not harm ourselves or others, choosing work that supports peace rather than causing harm or suffering. Right effort means making a continuous, gentle effort to encourage wholesome thoughts and qualities to grow while letting go of harmful ones like anger, greed, and confusion. Right mindfulness is the practice of being fully present and aware in each moment, observing the body, feelings, mind, and surroundings clearly without judgment. Finally, right concentration means cultivating deep states of meditation where the mind becomes calm, focused, and clear. This path is not about perfection or forcing oneself harshly. It is a gradual unfolding, like the blooming of a lotus flower from muddy water. It invites patience, kindness towards oneself, and dedication. Each step nourishes the next, creating a gentle spiral that lifts the heart out of suffering and into freedom. The 4 noble truths together give us a map out of confusion. They show us that suffering is real but not endless. They tell us that craving and attachment create the pain, but we can let go. They offer hope that peace and clarity are possible for all beings. And they guide us gently on how to walk the path, with open eyes, a kind heart, and mindful steps. What makes these truths so powerful is that they are based on direct experience, not blind faith. The Buddha asked followers not to believe him blindly, but to test what he said through their own practice and observation. This is why Buddhism is often called a practical dharma, a teaching meant to be lived, tried, and realized in one's own heart. When we keep these truths close, life may still bring challenges, but how we meet them gradually transforms. Instead of being tossed like a leaf in the storm, the heart learns to be like a strong tree, bending without breaking, rooted without being rigid. The Buddha's awakening is a mirror for our own possibility, that beneath all the changes and pains, a deep peace waits patiently to be known. So the next time pain knocks at the door, or desire tugs you forward, remember the 4 noble truths. See suffering as part of life, understand where it comes from, hold tight to hope, and take your next step on the path with kindness and presence. This is not just ancient wisdom from a distant past. It is an invitation to live fully, quietly, and freely here and now. Imagine standing at the edge of a dense forest, and you see only chaos, tangled branches, thick bushes, and shadows that stretch far and wide. This forest is much like life's confusion, filled with distractions, desires, fears, and endless noise. Now, picture a gentle light cutting through the trees, a soft path revealing itself beneath your feet. This path is steady, kind, and clear, guiding you from confusion towards peace. This is the essence of the Noble Eightfold Path, the wise way the Buddha taught to walk toward freedom from suffering. The Noble Eightfold Path is a practical, balanced guide for living with wisdom, kindness, and mindfulness. It is noble because it leads to true freedom, and eightfold because it is made up of 8 parts, each supporting the other. Much like the spokes of a wheel working together to keep the journey smooth and steady. The path is not about rigid rules or perfection, but about gentle growth, step by step, like a seed slowly becoming a strong tree. Each part of the path helps cultivate a life where suffering softens, the heart opens, and the mind becomes calm enough to see deeply into the nature of life. We begin this beautiful path with right view. This is the doorway to wisdom, the gentle understanding of how life truly is. Right view means seeing things as they are, not as we wish them to be. It teaches us to recognize that everything changes, that suffering exists, and that our actions have consequences. When we grasp this view, our heart opens with clarity. We realize that no pleasure lasts forever, no pain is forever, and our attachment to both only causes more unrest. Right view is the beginning of letting go of illusions and false hopes. It's a quiet acceptance of reality, which becomes the foundation for every other step on the path. From this clear vision arises right intention. Here, intention means the direction in which our heart and mind move. It's about choosing to let go of harmful desires like greed, hatred, and cruelty, and instead cultivating kindness, compassion, and renunciation of selfish craving. Right intention awakens the gentle vow within us to care for all beings, to think in ways that bring peace rather than harm. It reminds us that change begins in our innermost thoughts, the invisible roots that later shape our speech, actions, and life. With right vision and intention as guides, the path moves outward into speech and action, starting with right speech. Our words are powerful. They have the power to heal or to hurt, to uplift or to break. Right speech is the practice of speaking truthfully, gently, and kindly. It means avoiding lies, harsh words, gossip, and needless chatter. Imagine words as seeds we plant either in the hearts of others or within ourselves. When we choose speech that is honest and compassionate, we nourish peace and trust. When we speak carelessly, we sow conflict and pain. Right speech also includes listening deeply, creating space for silence when words are not helpful. Next comes right action, which is about how we live in the world through our deeds. It asks us to act with honesty, kindness, and respect for life. This means not harming living beings, not stealing what is not willingly given, and living a pure life that brings no harm to others. Right action is the outward expression of our inner intention. It bridges the heart's kindness with the world's realities. When we act rightly, our life becomes a reflection of the peace we seek, and relationships deepen with trust and care. Closely connected to action is right livelihood, the way we earn a living. This step invites us to choose work that does no harm to others or ourselves. It asks us to avoid business or professions that exploit, destroy, or create suffering, such as selling weapons, poisons, or engaging in deceit. Instead, right livelihood encourages honest, meaningful work that supports life and peace. This teaching gently reminds us that every part of our life, including how we earn, can be a step on the path of awakening or a cause of suffering. Then the journey turns inward to the mind with right effort. This is the energy and care we give to shaping the quality of our mind. Right effort means waking ourselves up to notice what thoughts and emotions arise, and then encouraging those that lead to peace, kindness, and understanding, while letting go of anger, jealousy, and confusion. It's not about forcing or battling our mind harshly, but about patient nurturing. Imagine the mind as a garden. Right effort is like the gardener who gently pulls out weeds and waters the flowers, allowing goodness to grow naturally. With effort comes right mindfulness, a treasure of awareness that the Buddha held as central to the path. Mindfulness is simply being fully present right now, watching our breath, body, feelings, and thoughts with gentle attention, without judgment or distraction. It means waking up to life with fresh eyes, seeing things as they really are instead of through past memories or daydreams. Mindfulness teaches us to embrace each moment, even the difficult ones, with kindness rather than resistance. This practice opens the heart and clarifies the mind, so we respond to life wisely instead of reacting out of old habits. The last step is right concentration, deepening the mind's focus through meditation. When the mind rests steadily and peacefully, free from distraction, insight naturally arises. Right concentration leads to states of calm and clarity where we can see life's truths more clearly: impermanence, interconnection, the nature of suffering, and peace. It is like a still lake reflecting the sky perfectly without ripple. This calm allows us to break free from confusion and experience awakening directly. But it's not just about sitting quietly. It's about developing this clarity so it stays with us throughout all our daily actions. These 8 parts of the path are not separate, but deeply connected. Each supports the other like branches growing from the same tree. They are practiced together as a whole, guiding the body, speech, and mind toward harmony and freedom. The middle way, which the Buddha discovered, lives deeply in the Eightfold Path. It means avoiding extremes, neither clinging to sensual pleasures nor punishing the body with harsh austerities. Instead, the path invites balance. Wisdom balanced with kindness, effort balanced with ease, discipline balanced with openness. This balance allows us to walk through life not as a burden, but as a dance, responding with clarity and compassion to whatever arises. You may wonder if following this path means being perfect or never making mistakes. On the contrary, the path welcomes all of us with our struggles and imperfections. Walking the path is a daily practice, sometimes slow, sometimes challenging. It is like learning to play a musical instrument, where each day you listen more deeply, adjust your touch, and find new harmony. Some days the mind sings softly, other days it stumbles, but the important thing is to keep walking with gentleness and patience. The truth is, this path is not just for monks or hermits secluded in forests. It is meant for everyone, parents, workers, students, and grandparents alike. Wherever we are, whatever we do, we can choose small steps toward right view, right speech, right action, and so on. With each choice, we plant seeds of peace that grow inside and around us. In the quiet moments of the day, while washing dishes, walking to work, or simply breathing, we can touch the teachings of the Eightfold Path. These teachings invite us to be awake, to live kindly, and to find joy outside of endless craving. The path leads us away from the storm of restlessness and closer to a place where the heart is steady, bright, and free. Walking the Noble Eightfold Path is embracing life with open eyes and an open heart. It is learning that freedom is not far away or something we must struggle fiercely to earn, but a gentle unfolding inside us. With each mindful breath, each kind word, each honest deed, we come closer to the peace Siddhartha found under the Bodhi tree, a peace available to all who seek. This path is the living heart of Buddhism. It is not a ceremony or belief, but a way to move through life with clarity and love. No matter where you are on your journey, the path welcomes you forward, step by step, toward freedom, wisdom, and a deep, lasting joy. Imagine life as a river flowing between 2 banks. One bank is the extreme of endless indulgence, chasing every pleasure, surrendering to every desire, letting the mind be swept away by craving without limit. The other bank is the extreme of harsh denial, rejecting all comforts, punishing the body, starving the spirit under strict austerities. Between these two banks flows the gentle current of the middle way, steady, balanced, and wise. The middle way is not just a teaching. It is the very heart of Buddhism, the path Siddhartha Gautama found after his personal journey of searching. Before his awakening, Siddhartha tried both extremes. He was born a prince and lived in great luxury, surrounded by every comfort. Yet that life could not answer the deep questions of suffering and meaning that stirred within him. On the other extreme, he took to severe asceticism, fasting to near death, denying every pleasure, torturing his body to find freedom. This too, he realized, was not the answer. The middle way invites us to step out of these extremes and find a path of balance, like walking on a sturdy bridge built over the river of chaos. It teaches that true freedom and insight come from avoiding the traps of overindulgence and self-denial. This balance is not just physical, but mental and spiritual. It is a gentle harmony where the body is cared for, the mind is calm, and wisdom shines bright. Why do extremes fail? Because life itself is a dance of opposites, forever changing and interwoven. When we cling too tightly to pleasure, we become entangled in greed and dissatisfaction, always chasing what slips away. When we push ourselves too harshly, we weaken our spirit and cloud our clarity with pain and frustration. In either case, the mind becomes restless, lost in confusion or craving. The middle way is freedom from those extremes, a path that respects the needs of body and mind without becoming attached to them. This teaching applies to many areas of life. For example, when it comes to food, eating too much can make the body sluggish, while starving can make it weak. The middle way asks us to nourish ourselves mindfully and with care, neither indulging nor depriving. Similarly, in work and rest, endless busyness can burn us out, while complete laziness leaves us disconnected. The middle way encourages balance, a rhythm of effort and ease that supports well-being. The middle way is also a teaching about the mind. It asks us to avoid extremes of excitement and dullness, craving and aversion. Instead, it guides us to cultivate openness and clarity, observing thoughts and feelings without being overwhelmed or shut down. Like a calm lake that reflects the sky regardless of weather, the mind on the middle way remains steady amid life's changing scenes. The Buddha's own example shines as a radiant proof of this wisdom. After years of searching through luxury and asceticism, he sat beneath the Bodhi tree and found awakening through balance. It was not the luxury of the palace, nor the pain of fasting that opened his eyes, but the calm, clear witness of the present moment. This moment, neither overfed nor starved, but fully alive, brought forth insight. In our own lives, the middle way calls us to practice balance with patience and kindness. It reminds us that self-care is not selfish, but necessary for true compassion and wisdom. It teaches that moderation is not a limitation, but a doorway to freedom. When we live by the middle way, we are able to meet life with openness instead of resistance, flow instead of struggle. The beautiful thing about the middle way is that it is found not by external rules, but by inner listening. It invites us to pay attention to our body's signals, to our mind's movements, and to the whispers of our heart. It asks gentle questions. When do we feel tight or strained? When do we feel lost or overwhelmed? What brings ease without dullness, clarity without harshness? Walking the middle way is like tuning an instrument. Too tight, the string will snap. Too loose, it will not sing. But tuned just right, it becomes a source of beautiful music. Similarly, our lives become harmonious when we balance effort with rest, joy with calm, engagement with detachment. This path of balance is deeply freeing because it releases us from the struggle between craving and aversion. It opens a space where acceptance lives, a gentle welcome to all of life, just as it is. Acceptance is not resignation, but seeing clearly, allowing the present moment without resisting or grasping. From this acceptance grows peace. Sometimes, following the middle way means saying no to an excess of work, worry, or distraction. Sometimes it means saying yes to a kind rest, a warm meal, a moment of silence. It asks us to be honest with ourselves, to notice when we have gone too far in one direction, and to gently return to balance. The middle way also teaches compassion for ourselves and others. When we see that everyone struggles with extremes in their own way, our hearts soften. We become patient with our own mistakes and more understanding of the ways others try to find balance. Compassion is the gentle light that guides us along the middle way when the path feels unclear. This path is not some distant ideal, but a practical way to live each day. You don't have to be a monk or live in a forest to walk the middle way. Every choice you make, what you eat, how you speak, the thoughts you entertain, can be an opportunity to practice balance. Maybe it's choosing to rest when tired rather than pushing harder, or offering a kind word instead of reacting in anger. Each small step is a return to harmony. The middle way is deeply connected to the Noble Eightfold Path. The Eightfold Path is the map, and the middle way is the spirit of that map. A harmonious curve through life that avoids the rocky banks of extremes. Together, they show that true happiness and freedom are not found in passion or punishment, but in wise balance. In this balance, we discover something precious. That life does not have to be a battle between desire and denial, joy and pain. Instead, life can be a graceful flow where the heart learns to embrace both the light and the shadow without fear. The middle way teaches us that peace grows not by fighting, but by resting in the middle, where all things meet. Walking the middle way is a lifelong practice, one that invites the heart to be present, the mind to be clear, and the spirit to be gentle. It is a path of awakening, not by pushing fiercely forward or pulling back completely, but by steady, mindful steps that honor life as it is. So when life feels overwhelming, or when desires pull strongly one way or another, remember the middle way, the path between extremes, the gentle river flowing calmly through the forest of your days. It is an invitation from the Buddha to live wisely, kindly, and fully alive. The three jewels. Imagine being in a vast, dark night sky filled with countless stars. Each star shines with its own light, offering beauty and guidance. In the journey of life, the Buddha taught us to take refuge in three precious jewels, like these stars, guiding lights that support us when the night is long and challenging. These are called the three jewels, the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Sangha. Each jewel is a source of wisdom, peace, and refuge for anyone walking the path of awakening. First, let us look deeply at the jewel called Buddha. This is not simply referring to one man in history, but to the awakened nature that exists within all beings. The word Buddha means the awakened one. Awakening is the clear seeing of things as they truly are, free from illusions and confusion. When Siddhartha Gautama sat under the Bodhi tree, he realized this awakening, not as something distant or magical, but as the natural truth shining quietly inside him. This light of awareness is not limited to him alone. It is a beacon in every heart, waiting to be discovered. Taking refuge in the Buddha means recognizing and honoring this awakening potential within ourselves and others. It is a turning point. It is like looking into a calm lake and seeing not just reflections, but the clear depths beneath. The Buddha represents the inspiration and possibility of awakening. When the world feels dark or confusing, The Buddha's light reminds us that clarity is possible, that peace is not out of reach, and that awakening is our true nature waiting patiently beneath the surface of becoming. Next, we turn our attention to Dharma, the second jewel and the teachings of the awakened ones. Dharma is often translated as law or truth, but it is much more than that. Dharma is the living truth about reality and the practical ways to walk toward freedom and peace. It is the wisdom that guides us through suffering and confusion. Imagine a great river flowing through the land. This river nourishes the earth and brings life. Dharma flows through time in a similar way. It nourishes our understanding and supports our growth. The Buddhist teachings, the scriptures, stories, and practices all form the stream of Dharma. But Dharma is not a fixed book or doctrine. It is truth in action, a path that speaks to the heart and mind of each person uniquely. Taking refuge in Dharma means trusting this path of wisdom, that pain and suffering are not the end, that change is always possible, and that by walking the path, peace and freedom arise naturally. It means listening deeply, practicing sincerely, and allowing the truth to transform us from within. Dharma is the medicine that heals the mind's confusion and the lamp that lights the way through dark times. The third jewel is Sangha, the community of those who walk the path of awakening. Sangha is the gathering of practitioners who support, encourage, and walk beside us on this journey. It includes ordained monks and nuns, but also laypeople practicing meditation and living ethically. Sangha is the living breath of Buddhism, not just ideas or teachings, but a family of hearts sharing experiences, struggles, and joy. Why is community so important? Because awakening is not an isolated journey. It unfolds in relationship. When our hearts feel weak or unsure, the Sangha offers strength and warmth. When our doubts darken the path, the Sangha's wisdom and encouragement light the way. In the company of others, our practice deepens and kindness grows. The Sangha is like a safe harbor where we can rest, share our stories, and open our hearts without fear. Taking refuge in Sangha means seeking the company of those who inspire us to live with honesty, courage, and compassion. It means joining hands with others who strive to embrace life with mindfulness and love. The Buddha said that even a single kind and wise friend on the path is like a rare treasure. Sangha is that treasure, a living presence of encouragement, guidance, and compassion. Together, the three jewels provide a circle of refuge and support. When we take refuge in the Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha, we open ourselves to awakening and shelter ourselves from suffering. It is like planting a seed in fertile soil, watering it with wisdom and kindness, and watching it grow. Taking refuge is not a one-time event, but a continuous choice made every day. It is a way of grounding ourselves when life feels confusing or heavy. By turning inward to the Buddha's awakened nature, outward to the truths of the Dharma, and alongside others in the Sangha, we create a strong foundation for peace. It is important to understand that taking refuge does not mean blind faith or surrender to dogma. Instead, it is an invitation to test the teachings in your own experience, to see if the Buddha's awakening, Dharma's wisdom, and Sangha's support truly bring peace to your heart and clarity to your mind. Buddhism values this personal verification above all. The three jewels remind us that the path is both deeply personal and beautifully communal. Awakening begins inside, but it flourishes when supported by timeless teachings and loving community. Like three stars guiding a traveler through the night, the Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha illuminate the path when darkness falls. Even in challenging moments, we can return to these jewels. When the mind becomes restless, we recall the Buddha's serene presence, the possibility of awakening still alive within us. When confusion clouds judgment, we turn to Dharma, seeking the wisdom that brings understanding and relief. When loneliness or discouragement arise, we reach out to Sangha, drawing strength from those who walk with us. The jewel of Buddha teaches us to wake up to the true nature of life. The jewel of Dharma gives us the teachings to walk with clarity and compassion. The jewel of Sangha offers loving companionship and support. Each jewel holds a unique power, and together, they create a sacred circle of refuge. Take a moment now to imagine these three jewels shining inside your heart, around you like a gentle protective light. Let their warmth soothe your worries and steady your spirit. They are ever present, waiting to guide you whenever you choose to look within. Listen deeply and walk mindfully. Life can be difficult, full of uncertainties and sorrow, but the three jewels shine as beacons of hope and enduring peace. Through them, the Buddha's timeless wisdom continues to touch hearts around the world, inviting each of us to awaken gently and live fully. The journey of taking refuge in the three jewels is a profound act of trust. Trust in awakening, trust in the truth, and trust in compassionate companionship. It is a foundation that holds us gently as we walk the long and beautiful path toward freedom. May the Buddha's light awaken in your heart. May the Dharma's wisdom illuminate your way. May the Sangha's love and presence support your every step. This is the blessing and gift of the three jewels, a treasure not found outside, but alive within and around you, every moment of your life. Impermanence and non-self. Imagine standing beside a flowing river. You dip your hand into the water and feel its coolness. You watch the water move by. Nothing stays still for even a moment. Each drop you touched has already moved onwards, replaced by new water. The river is always changing, never the same, always alive in its flow. This is a simple way to understand one of the deepest truths Buddha taught us: impermanence, or the nature that everything changes. Impermanence means that all things, our thoughts, feelings, bodies, relationships, the world itself, are in a constant state of change. Nothing is fixed, nothing lasts forever. The flowers will bloom and fade, the seasons come and go, and so does every moment of our lives. Some changes are slow, like the growth of trees. Some are sudden, like a lightning flash. But all things move, flow, and transform. This truth is sometimes hard to accept because we naturally cling to things we love and resist losing them. We want our happy moments to last. We want our loved ones to stay by our side. And we want our bodies to remain strong and healthy forever. When we forget impermanence, clinging tightly to what we want, suffering grows inside us. For example, when a flower inevitably wilts, sadness comes if we hoped it would stay fresh always. When a friend moves away, pain arises if we don't accept that change is part of life. The Buddha showed us that seeing impermanence clearly is the first step to freeing ourselves from this suffering. When we allow ourselves to truly understand that life is like the river, always changing and never fixed, fear and resistance begin to soften. We realize that trying to hold on to what slips away is like trying to catch water in our hands. Nothing but frustration and pain will come from it. But when we relax into the flow, we find a kind of peace and freedom. Connected deeply with impermanence is the teaching of non-self, or anatta in Pali. This might feel surprising at first, because we often think of ourselves as a solid, fixed I or me inside. We say, I am happy, I am sad, or I am this or that. But the Buddha taught us that this sense of a permanent self is an illusion, a mistaken idea that causes suffering. To understand this, imagine a flame. It looks like a single thing, but really it's a dance of many parts: air, fuel, heat that come together and fall apart moment by moment. The flame is not a single, independent self, but a process in constant change. Similarly, the self we experience is made up of many changing parts. Our body, sensations, thoughts, memories, feelings, and consciousness, all interacting and changing from moment to moment. There is no fixed, unchanging I behind these parts, no eternal soul or separate entity. The self arises from these changing elements as a pattern, like a river's flow or a flame's dance. This teaching helps us see that our worries, fears, and desires are not coming from some solid self that must be protected, but from changing processes that can be understood and transformed. When we cling to the idea of a solid self, we create suffering. We try to protect the I from pain, defend it from change, and seek to satisfy its desires. But if we loosen this grip, seeing that the self is a living, changing process, many fears begin to dissolve. We become open to change, less attached, and more free in our hearts. Practicing awareness of impermanence and non-self is not about negation or feeling hollow inside. It is a gentle invitation to wake up to how we really live. Instead of feeling trapped in a small me fighting against the world, we discover vast openness, connection with all that flows and changes. It is like stepping from a shadow into sunlight, from loneliness into belonging. One way to feel this truth simply is to bring awareness to your breath. Each breath is new, never the same as the one before. You are not the same person as yesterday or even a moment ago. The cells in your body renew, the thoughts in your mind flow, the sensations shift. Holding this awareness, you touch life's dance of impermanence and selflessness directly. The Buddha taught that seeing impermanence and non-self with clear eyes softens the hold of craving and aversion, allowing the heart to rest peacefully. It helps loosen the tight knots of anger, fear, and sorrow that arise when we resist change or try to protect a fixed identity. This practice brings freedom because it touches the root of suffering, our mistaken ideas about permanence and selfhood. In everyday life, this teaching invites kindness and patience. When a difficult feeling arises, pain, disappointment, or fear, remember it is not permanent. Like clouds passing across the sky, feelings come and go. You are not your feelings. They are parts of the ever-changing river inside. This awareness helps prevent getting trapped or overwhelmed. Similarly, when faced with the changes of the world, aging, loss, endings, impermanence, and non-self awaken a deeper acceptance. They remind us that all things flow, and that resistance only brings more pain. Instead of holding tightly, we learn to embrace change gently, like a parent comforting a child afraid of the dark. This does not mean becoming passive or uncaring. On the contrary, realizing impermanence and selflessness deepens our compassion. We understand everyone's journey is a dance of change, and no one is a fixed target of blame or praise. With this understanding, we act from kindness rather than fear, from openness rather than defensiveness. The Zen master's heart reflects deeply on this truth. In the moments of stillness, when the mind becomes quiet like a clear pond, the dance of impermanence and non-self reveals its beauty. Life is not a prison of fixed selves, but a river flowing through vast landscapes. To flow with this river is to find freedom, not from life itself, but from the chains of illusion that bind the heart. This teaching encourages us to look gently again and again at the present moment, to see clearly what comes and goes. Not rejecting or clinging, but witnessing with softness and openness. In that witness, the sharp edges of suffering begin to soften, and the heart learns to rest in the natural rhythm of change. To live with the wisdom of impermanence and non-self is to live with humility and courage. Humility to admit that we cannot control all that happens or hold on to selves that do not exist in a fixed way. Courage to face the unknown with trust that change brings growth and awakening. Every breath, every moment is a chance to practice this seeing. To touch the river flowing, to watch the flame dancing, to feel the open sky of your own heart. In this gentle mindfulness, the power of impermanence and non-self transforms fear into freedom, limitation into vastness. So when next you feel lost in fear, anger, or sadness, remember the river flows onward, never stopping, never clinging. Remember that the self is not a solid thing, but a changing pattern like the wind and the clouds. In this remembrance, may your heart soften, and may you find your way back home to peace. The concept of karma and rebirth. Life feels like a vast garden, full of seeds hidden beneath the soil. Some seeds grow sweet fruits, others bitter weeds. As we walk through this garden, we see the results of what was planted long ago. This is the gentle way Buddhism explains the idea of karma and rebirth. Like the invisible threads weaving together the moments of our lives into a beautiful, complex tapestry. Karma is often misunderstood as fate or punishment, but the Buddha taught it very differently. Karma means action, and more deeply, the natural cause and effect of our deeds. Every word we speak, every thought we nourish, every action we take plants seeds in our hearts and in the world. These seeds grow into fruits, sometimes sweet and nourishing, sometimes bitter and painful. Karma is not about reward or punishment given by a higher power, but about the natural law of cause and effect flowing like a river through life. Think of karma as a gardener tending a field. Each choice you make is a seed sown into this field. If you sow seeds of kindness, honesty, and compassion, the garden grows flowers of happiness and peace. But if you sow seeds of anger, greed, or cruelty, weeds of suffering and misunderstanding may grow. The garden reflects not just random growth but the care, or neglect, you give it. This teaching invites us to take responsibility, not with fear, but with kindness and awareness. We are not helpless victims of life, but gardeners with the power to choose seeds carefully. This is the true freedom within, to plant with intention, patience, and love. Even when old seeds from past choices blossom, we can tend the garden now and steer the future toward peace. Connected to karma is the idea of rebirth, which means life is a continuing flow of moments, not a single, isolated existence. Buddhism teaches that when one life ends, when the body dies, the flow of consciousness continues, much like a river that never stops flowing, moving from one place to another, taking new shapes and forms. This is not about a permanent soul moving from body to body, but the continuation of causes and conditions that give rise to new life. Imagine the flame of a candle being used to light another candle. The new flame is not the exact same fire, but it carries the light forward, connected yet separate. In the same way, rebirth carries the effects of past actions into a new life, shaped by the seeds planted before. This cycle of birth, death, and rebirth is called samsara, often described as a wheel turning endlessly. We may ask, why does rebirth happen? The answer lies in the forces of desire, attachment, and ignorance. When the mind clings to pleasures, ignores the truth of impermanence, and fails to see its own nature, the cycle continues. It is like tossing a stone into a calm pond. The ripples go on until the water stills. Liberation, or nirvana, is like stilling the pond, ceasing the ripple of cravings and attachments. Understanding karma and rebirth encourages a view of life that is vast and interconnected. Our choices do not just affect this moment or this life, but shape possibilities far beyond what we see. This teaching is both humbling and empowering. Humbling because we see how intricately connected we are to all beings and to the flow of life. Empowering because every moment offers a chance to change the course, to plant new seeds for peace and joy. Many times, people wonder if rebirth means becoming someone or something completely different. Buddhism teaches that rebirth is not about a fixed self transmigrating, but about the momentum of actions and habits shaping new experiences. Just as one wave rises and falls, and another wave follows, each life is a new expression of a continuing flow. This understanding helps us loosen the grip on identity and ego. We see ourselves not as isolated islands, but as part of a vast ocean, moving with the tides of cause and effect. This perspective fosters compassion because we realize everyone is caught in the same cycle of suffering and hope, each carrying their own unseen seeds. Karma is also deeply practical. It inspires ethical living, encouraging kindness, honesty, and generosity, not because of fear of punishment, but from a heart that understands the natural consequences of harmful actions. When we harm others, we plant painful seeds that may return through ourselves or others in unknown ways. When we give kindness, we nourish joy and ease. This causes a gentle ripple effect, creating harmony in our lives and communities. The Buddha's teaching on karma and rebirth invites a gentle mindfulness of our daily lives. Each thought and action becomes important, not in a heavy or fearful way, but as the unfolding of a precious opportunity to sow peace. Imagine waking in the morning with awareness that your choices will shape not only your day, but the very garden of your being. What flowers might you cultivate today? This teaching also offers compassion for our own mistakes and the mistakes of others. Just like seeds can lie dormant for a time, so can the effects of actions. Not every painful experience is from yesterday. Sometimes it grows from seeds long forgotten. Knowing this helps us understand that change and healing take time. It teaches patience with ourselves and others as the garden slowly changes. In moments of difficulty, karma and rebirth teach hope. No matter how tangled the past, the present moment is always fresh ground where new seeds can be planted. Even the smallest act of kindness, the gentlest word, the quietest moment of understanding can shift the course of the future. This is a deeply comforting truth for anyone walking through hardship or doubt. The Zen master reflects on this with deep warmth. Life's journey is not random but infused with meaning. Each breath, each step, a part of a greater whole. Like tending a garden with love, patience, and care, we tend our lives moment by moment. Karma and rebirth remind us that we are both the sower and the soil, the gardener and the seed. This understanding dissolves blame and fear and opens the heart to a compassionate embrace of all beings, including ourselves. It encourages us to live wisely, love deeply, and walk gently with every living being on the path. The Buddha's teaching on karma and rebirth is not meant to trap or limit us, but to inspire freedom. The freedom to awaken, to transform our lives, and to plant seeds of joy and peace that will blossom for ourselves and countless others. May this truth gently guide you as you walk your path, like the wise gardener nurturing a radiant, flourishing garden through the seasons of life. Schools of Buddhism. Imagine a vast tree with many branches reaching out in different directions. Each branch grows in its own way, shaped by the soil, light, and weather around it, but all belong to the same tree. Buddhism is like this tree. Over thousands of years, its teachings have grown into many branches, different schools and traditions. Each school has its own way of understanding and practicing the Buddha's wisdom, but all share the same root. the wish to awaken from suffering and live with kindness and insight. The three main branches of Buddhism that have developed over time are called Theravada, Mahayana, and Vajrayana. Each offers a unique approach to the teachings, practice, and living the Dharma. Let us gently explore their qualities, not as judgments, but as beautiful expressions of one great river flowing through different landscapes. The oldest of these branches is Theravada, sometimes called the teaching of the elders or school of the elders. It is practiced mainly in countries like Sri Lanka, Thailand, Myanmar, Laos, and Cambodia. Theravada focuses closely on the original teachings of the Buddha as preserved in the Pali Canon, the earliest recorded texts. Practitioners emphasize personal liberation through meditation, ethical living, and understanding the Four Noble Truths and the Noble Eightfold Path deeply. Theravada Buddhism is often described as a path to becoming an arhat, one who awakens fully from suffering through their own efforts. The practice involves careful mindfulness and insight meditation, vipassana, learning to see directly the impermanence and non-self nature of all things. The goal is freedom from all attachments and the cycle of rebirth. In Theravada monasteries, monks often live simply, dedicating their lives to study, meditation, and teaching. Because of this focus on personal liberation, the life of the monastic community is central in Theravada. The laypeople support the monks and nuns, making offerings and practicing ethics in their daily lives. This school honors the Buddha as the supreme teacher and often encourages deep study of his original words as a guide to awakening. Moving from Theravada, we find the broad and diverse branch of Mahayana, which means great vehicle. Mahayana Buddhism developed later and spread widely across East Asia. In countries like China, Japan, Korea, Vietnam, and Tibet, it is characterized by its emphasis on compassion and the ideal of the Bodhisattva, a being who seeks enlightenment not just for themselves, but for the sake of all beings. The Bodhisattva ideal calls for walking the path with a heart wide open to the suffering of the world. Mahayana teaches that awakening is not only about personal freedom, but about helping all beings find peace. This compassionate vision inspires practitioners to develop generosity, patience, loving-kindness, and wisdom simultaneously. It asks us to widen our circle of care, recognizing that none of us is separate from others. Mahayana literature also introduces new sutras and teachings beyond the early texts, with beautiful, poetic descriptions of emptiness, sunyata, the interconnectedness of all things, and the potential for awakening in everyone. It invites deep questioning of fixed ideas and encourages openness and flexibility in understanding reality. Within Mahayana, there are many different schools and traditions, like Zen, Pure Land, and Nichiren, each emphasizing different methods for awakening. Zen, for example, focuses on direct experience through meditation and moment-to-moment awareness, often cutting through words and concepts to touch the immediate present. Pure Land centers on devotion and trust in the compassion of the Buddha Amitabha to be reborn in a pure realm free from suffering. Nichiren emphasizes chanting the Lotus Sutra as a powerful path to awakening. Together, these schools inspire countless practitioners worldwide, offering many doors into the Buddha's wisdom, each adapted to different cultures, temperaments, and eras. The third major branch is called Vajrayana, the diamond vehicle or thunderbolt vehicle. Vajrayana Buddhism is most widely known through Tibetan Buddhism, but also exists in parts of Mongolia, Nepal, Bhutan, and northern India. Vajrayana builds upon Mahayana teachings, but adds unique practices intended to bring swift transformation and enlightenment. Vajrayana is sometimes described as a way to turn the very energy of desire, anger, and confusion into the power of awakening. It uses skillful means like mantras, sacred sounds, mudras, symbolic hand gestures, mandalas, symbolic diagrams, and visualization practices as tools to engage the mind deeply and break through habitual patterns. These methods aim to awaken the radiant, innate wisdom present in each being. Because Vajrayana embraces such powerful techniques, training is often closely guided by a teacher or guru who helps the student safely and skillfully practice. The relationship between teacher and student is deeply respected, seen as essential for awakening. Vajrayana is rich with rituals, symbolism, and philosophy, aiming to bring both profound insight and everyday compassion. While these three branches highlight the diversity in Buddhism, it is important to remember they all spring from the same root: the Buddha's awakening and his teachings on ending suffering. Each tradition, with its different emphasis and style, reflects the many ways humans seek peace and understanding. This diversity also teaches us an important lesson. The path to awakening is not one size fits all. Each person's journey is unique, shaped by their background, culture, and inner needs. Some may find deep peace through silence and meditation, others through chanting and devotion, and yet others through study and compassionate action. At the heart of all schools is the aspiration to awaken, to see clearly, feel deeply, and live kindly. They offer tools and teachings, guidance and community, each helping us move closer to freedom from ignorance, craving, and suffering. One beautiful thing about the diverse branches of Buddhism is that they invite openness to learning from one another. While their methods vary, they often embrace a spirit of respect and curiosity. Modern practitioners may even blend teachings from different schools, creating a personalized path grounded in timeless wisdom. Stepping back, the many schools of Buddhism reflect the richness of human experience and the vastness of the Buddha's compassion. Like a tree shading many beneath its branches, Buddhism offers shelter and nourishment to all kinds of seekers. Whether one walks the disciplined Theravada path, the compassionate Bodhisattva way of Mahayana, or the powerful methods of Vajrayana, the goal is the same: awakening to the true nature of life and living with kindness, wisdom, and peace. This understanding invites us to respect different traditions and find what resonates most with our own heart. It also reminds us that the Buddha's deepest wish was for all beings to be free, and this wish shines like a single light behind the many colors of Buddhism's great tree. Walking this path, no matter which school calls you, is a step toward immense freedom. A freedom born from awakening, compassion, and clarity. Buddhism in daily life. Imagine life as a simple, everyday journey, walking down a familiar path. The sun rises, birds sing, the breeze touches your face, and the rhythm of the day unfolds naturally. Buddhism is not a distant, complicated philosophy, but a gentle way to walk this path more clearly, kindly, and peacefully. It is a living wisdom that breathes in the ordinary moments of life. The moments often unnoticed, but full of potential for awakening. Many people think Buddhism belongs only to monks in quiet temples or distant mountains, but the Buddhist teachings were meant for everyone. They are for the mother carrying her child in a bustling village, the farmer tending fields in the early morning, the worker facing challenges at the office, or the elderly person reflecting on life seasons. Buddhism shows how to live wisely and compassionately right here, right now, no matter what your life is like. Living Buddhism daily means seeing each moment as a chance to practice kindness, patience, and presence. When we rise in the morning and greet a new day, we can remind ourselves gently to be mindful of our breath, our body, and our thoughts. This simple act anchors us, allowing life to flow more smoothly instead of rushing into the chaos of distractions. Even the smallest actions become meaningful. Washing the dishes becomes not a chore but a moment of presence, a chance to feel the water, Notice the movements of the hands and connect fully to the here and now. Walking to work or school becomes a meditation on each step, each breath, moving with awareness. Everyday tasks turn from automatic routines into a dance of mindfulness. In relationships, Buddhism teaches us to practice compassion and understanding. When conflicts arise, we are invited to pause before reacting, to listen deeply to others and ourselves with kindness. Instead of rushing to judge or respond with anger, we can see the humanity beneath every word and action. This softens hearts and opens the door to forgiveness and peace. Buddhism also teaches us to speak and act with honesty and care. Right speech, the promise to speak truthfully, kindly, and helpfully, helps build trust and harmony in communities. Choosing words thoughtfully, avoiding gossip or harshness, creates connections rather than divisions. This teaches us that how we communicate shapes the world around us. One of the most profound ways Buddhism touches daily life is through the practice of mindfulness. Mindfulness means waking up to life as it is, moment by moment, without judgment or distraction. It is like opening the eyes of the heart to the richness of experience, whether joyful, painful, or ordinary. Mindfulness invites us to meet life fully, in its beauty and its challenges. Through this practice, we begin to see patterns of thought and feeling that often go unnoticed. We recognize worries that loop endlessly, habits that cause harm, and moments of kindness that bring peace. Mindfulness becomes a gentle guide, helping us respond rather than react, creating space between stimulus and response. This space is where freedom grows. In daily life, Buddhism offers many practical tools to cultivate peace and clarity. One of these is meditation, a quiet time to sit and observe the breath, body, and mind. Meditation is not escaping life, but training to face it with calmness and wisdom. Even a few minutes a day can bring deep calm and help the mind settle like a pond after the wind. Remember, meditation is not about emptying the mind or forcing it to stop thinking. It is about watching thoughts come and go, like clouds crossing the sky, without being carried away. This practice reveals how thoughts and emotions are temporary, helping us not to be swept away by them. It builds a kinder, steadier relationship with ourselves. Living Buddhism daily also means practicing generosity. Giving is not only about material things, but also about offering time, attention, compassion, and kindness. Small acts, holding a door, smiling at a stranger, listening fully, can ripple out and brighten the lives of others. Generosity softens the heart and connects us to the deeper web of life. Buddhism gently guides us to live with simplicity and contentment, recognizing that endless craving and consumption often lead to unrest. By learning to appreciate what we have and needing less, we reduce suffering and open space for peace. This does not mean renouncing all comfort, but learning to see clearly what truly nourishes the heart. When difficulties come, as they will in all lives, Buddhism teaches equanimity, the ability to meet joy and pain with balance, neither clinging too tightly to happiness nor pushing away sorrow. This balance comes from wisdom and practice and helps us live with steadiness and grace. Practicing patience is another way Buddhism enriches daily life. Patience is not passive waiting but active acceptance. It is the strength to endure challenges with kindness and without frustration. Through patience, we learn that growth takes time, change is gradual, and every moment is precious. Buddhism also invites us to awaken compassion for ourselves. Often, we are our own harshest critics. The teaching reminds us to treat our own heart with the same kindness we offer others, to forgive our mistakes, nurture our fatigue, and honor our courage. Self-compassion is the foundation for genuine kindness to others. In the cycles of daily life, birth and death, meeting and parting, gain and loss, Buddhism provides a clear understanding of impermanence. Seeing life's changing nature helps us let go of fear and grasping. We come to cherish moments deeply without trying to hold them forever. A dance of loving presence in the flow of change. One of the most beautiful gifts Buddhism offers ordinary life is the practice of gratitude. When we slow down and notice simple blessings, the warmth of sunlight, a meal shared, a kind word, we awaken the heart to joy. Gratitude shifts the mind from lack to abundance, renewing appreciation for the gift of being alive. The teachings remind us that all beings share the wish to be happy and free from suffering. This shared heart connects us beyond differences of language, culture, or history. When we live Buddhism daily, we begin to feel this connection more deeply, breaking down walls of separation and opening to the vastness of compassion. In the face of modern life's speed and distractions, Buddhism offers a gentle refuge, a quiet space to slow down, breathe, and remember what truly matters. It encourages us to step away from restless craving and find stillness in the present moment. Every choice to live mindfully, kindly, and wisely is a step toward an awakened life. A life full of peace, joy, and freedom. The Buddha's teachings are not about escaping the world, but embracing it fully with a heart wide open. So, when you wash the dishes, walk the street, speak to a friend, or rest at night, remember, each moment holds the seed of awakening. Buddhism in daily life is the art of unfolding that seed through kindness, presence, and wisdom. May this gentle way guide your days and fill your heart with peace. Conclusion and transformative wisdom. Life is a journey, ever unfolding like the petals of a lotus flower opening gently to the sun. In walking the path of Buddhism, we have traveled together through stories, teachings, and reflections, each step a thread woven into the fabric of understanding and peace. Now, as this chapter draws to a close, it is time to gather the wisdom that blooms from this journey. A wisdom that does not sit only on pages or words, but lives in the heart and shines through each moment. Buddhism is not a distant philosophy or a set of strict rules. It is a living guide, inviting us lovingly into awareness, kindness, and freedom. It calls us to look deeply at our own lives, to notice where we suffer, and to cultivate the inner light of peace that the Buddha discovered beneath the Bodhi tree. This light is present in all beings, waiting patiently to be recognized, nurtured, and shared. Through the teachings we explored, the Four Noble Truths, the Noble Eightfold Path, the Middle Way, the Three Jewels, and the profound truths of impermanence, non-self, karma, and rebirth, we see a map, a doorway, leading toward awakening. Each teaching is a lantern illuminating different parts of the path, revealing the joyful possibility of living free from the shadow of confusion and suffering. The lily of wisdom that grows from these teachings is rooted in simplicity and love. The Buddha's message is one of compassion, compassionate toward ourselves and toward all beings. This compassion is not sentimental, but a deep understanding of life's realities. The joys and the sorrows, the births and the deaths, the endless cycles of change. Compassion arises naturally when we see clearly that suffering is shared and freedom is possible. As we carry this understanding into our days, the teachings become not just knowledge, but lived experience. We learn to meet life's challenges with equanimity, a steady, calm heart that neither clings too tightly to joy nor resists pain. This balance nurtures resilience, kindness, and the courage to be present with whatever arises. Walking the path is a series of small, mindful choices. It is as much about how we treat ourselves as how we relate to others. Self-compassion grounds us and breaks the cycle of harshness that so often deepens suffering. When we forgive our own mistakes and embrace our imperfections, the heart softens and opens more fully to love. The practice of mindfulness weaves through all moments. Moments of sitting quietly in meditation, moments of helping a stranger, moments of facing a difficult emotion with gentle attention. Mindfulness is the thread that binds awareness to action, wisdom to daily living. It transforms ordinary life into a sacred journey. Even when confusion returns, as it often does, the teachings remind us to return gently to the present. There is no final destination, only continuous unfolding. Awakening is not a one-time event, but a gradual blossoming, a daily return to clarity and kindness. Each breath, each step, is a chance to awaken anew. The Buddha's simple yet profound advice resonates here. To live with heedfulness, embracing the precious gift of life with gratitude and care. He encourages us to be the light for ourselves, understanding that liberation comes from within. It is neither granted by others nor found in outside things. The power to be free is already inside, waiting to be uncovered. This transformative wisdom is not limited by history, culture, or tradition. It is universal, touching the essence of what it means to be human. A heart longing for peace and truth. It is a gentle invitation to awaken, not through force or struggle, but through loving attention and steady practice. As life flows onward, the teachings of Buddhism stand as an enduring support, a calm refuge in the midst of change. They offer a vision of life where suffering is not denied, but understood and transcended with compassion and wisdom. To walk this path is to embrace the full spectrum of existence. The light and the shadow, the laughter and the tears, the beauty and the impermanence. It is a way of living that honors every moment as sacred, every being as worthy of kindness. Before we part, a small but heartfelt request. There are so many views on this channel, but only 0.3% subscribe. So please like, comment, share, and subscribe to our channel, Wisdom Woven. Your support helps keep this weaving of ancient wisdom and heartfelt guidance alive for all who seek peace. May the blessings of awakening be with you always. May your heart grow gentle, your mind clear, and your life rich with compassion. Each step you take on this path is a gift, not just to yourself, but to the whole world. With every breath, may you remember the Buddha's timeless promise, that peace, joy, and freedom are not distant dreams but living truths, ready to be touched here and now. May you walk your path steadily, warmly, and with an open heart, weaving wisdom into every moment of your life.